Over the past 7 days, we've had a rate rise land, buyer sentiment tested, and auctions pushed through the system. And with just 7 Saturdays until Easter, the runway to sell is tightening fast. So the question is, did the market blink or did the market absorb the hit? Well, g'day folks, it is Matt Hayson here, looking at everything impacting Sydney's property market this week. Now, as I mentioned, we all know last week the Reserve Bank lifted the cash rate to 3.85%. Now, whenever rates move, the first thing we watch isn't prices, it's behaviour, open homes, inquiry, the tone of conversation on the ground. And yes, there was a slight dip in attendance numbers across the broader market. Now, confidence, it took a small knock, but here's the nuance from what we're seeing across Sydney's prestige pockets. Buyers, they didn't disappear, they've just adjusted. And we're dealing with a far more price-sensitive buyer pool, analytical, cautious, protective of their dollar. And quite frankly, that's the new norm. High cost of living, high funding costs now, and higher scrutiny on value. But necessity hasn't left the room. Families, well, they still need to move. Upsizers, they still need that additional space. And downsizers, well, they still want that lifestyle simplification. And when emotion meets necessity, logic can often soften very quickly. And we've still seen very competitive tension emerge right across many of our homes and our sales. And we've still seen above market outcomes when buyer depth is real. So yes, rates, they've created a pause, but they didn't create paralysis. And we've seen that play out across Sydney's auction market over the past week, where the clearance rate landed in the mid 50% range. So how do we read that? Balance, not booming. Buyers, they're active, but also very much selective. And one of the most telling metrics though, isn't what sold under the hammer, it's what sold prior. We're seeing a material volume of transactions happening before auction day. Now that reinforces a key theme of this market. When buyers identify the right property, they're engaging early to remove competition. Now there's also a flip side to that. We're also seeing elevated reschedules and campaigns pivoting to private treaty, which tells us also that price discovery is taking a little bit longer for certain properties. Vendors, well, they're being tested. Buyers, they're negotiating a little bit harder. And agents, they need to read that traction very quickly, not blindly run to auction without engagement. So overall, auctions are working, but campaign precision really does matter. Now, if we overlay all of that with timing, we're sitting now 7 Saturdays out from Easter. In real estate terms, that's a compressed selling window. So what happens from here? I can tell you, we're going to see a listing supply rising very sharply. Campaigns are going to start stacking on top of each other, and buyers suddenly are going to have a great deal of choice. And that's when depth is going to get tested. Some homes will have 4 bidders, others will only have 1. And that divergence comes down to positioning, pricing, and early interest management. For sellers, the key message is very simple. Watch your competition very closely, engage when interest is live, and be prepared to pivot if traction isn't evident. Because as supply builds, leverage can very quickly shift towards the buy pool. So where do we land this week? We've got a market that's absorbed a rate rise, not feared it, a buy pool that's cautious but still transacting, and an auction market that's balanced, not broken, and fast approaching that Easter runway that will test both supply and buyer depth. In short, we're operating in a very cautiously balanced market, not flat, not booming, but very much alive if you read it correctly. Now, as always, there's plenty going down, and this week we've got some amazing properties coming online. In fact, they're off the charts. We're very much excited about it. Buyers should be excited about it too. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to catching you all next week.